I'm talking to David Lee, and he gave a presentation today at E-Day, and he's from the Open Innovation Lab in Shenzhen. What is that exactly?
So we are platforms to connecting the global entrepreneurs to the Shenzhen open ecosystem.
Okay, so we're going to talk about it a little bit more, and also about his background. But especially, I got to talk to him because he had a presentation about a special form of EV. EV as
Electric vehicle?
yeah, electric vehicle slow. How is it called?
It's called a low LSEV.
LSEV, so the low speed electric vehicle. And how many of those were sold last year in China?
1.7 million.
1.7 million electric cars,
Yeah.
small electric cars were sold. How much do these cars sell for?
From $1,000 to $3,000.
$1,000 to $3,000. Okay, and how fast can these cars go?
They have the typical speed about 40 kilometer an hour, and they go up to about 70.
So you can only use them in the city, and
Yeah, they are mostly for the urban transportations.
they're I mean, like our handicapped cars in Holland, but there's millions of them are sold. So it's like we sell electric bike, they sell little low speed electric vehicles. What is the range of cars like that?
Right now, with the lead acid battery, you can go up to about 150 kilometer per charge. Switching to lithium ion, it goes up to about 200 to 250.
And these things are really small and really cheap and extremely handy for the city. So we don't have anything like that. And I think you lived in Shanghai. They're not there either, right?
They're not in Shanghai. This is the background of how this LSEV got developed. They are targeted at the rural area in China, where the farmers still with modified motorcycle, three-wheel. They had to endure the cold of the winter, and so people people making originally making the golf car, starting to make enclosed golf car for this group of people, and it become very popular.
They actually look quite nice. There's also one which looks like a Mini, which is really also looks great, right? I mean, from the inside, outside. How are they to drive?
They're actually very nice. They have they just look like any of the small car, 2-seat, 4-seat. They just drive like any regular car.
And they're very simple, and they're not very complicated with sensors and computers and that kind of stuff. So they're quite reliable.
Well, yeah, the car is very reliable. They're in the bare format. They are actually pretty simple. But these days, one of the things is adding the digital experience into the car is cheap.
Okay, so I can also order it with a Tesla screen.
We do have someone who do the 22-inch screen in-car experience, and that will cost you extra $200.
Could I drive a car? Would it be possible to import a car like that in Europe and get permission to drive it?
Well, the European regulation actually classify this car as either L6E or L7E. There are two European classified for low-speed vehicle.
We have a standard for low-speed vehicle, and the Netherlands should allow it to come here and to be on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at the detail in Netherlands, but it's been in France. From the information I have, is you can get a license if the car doesn't go on a freeway. You can import that, have a clear license to drive on the street within about 1 to 2 months.
So we're now very excited about the electric vehicle industry because it does 1 million cars a year. But you say there's a slightly different car thing, and they do 1.7 million a year just from China.
Yeah, this car is only available in 2 provinces in China, but they are already up at about 1.7 million.
And the central government tried to forbid them, but they didn't.
Oh yeah, so 5 years ago, the Chinese central government issued a policy saying they don't want to develop low-speed EV. and but the two provinces still went ahead and developed the industry, and now they are at 1.7 million without any subsidies. Now the central government loves them. They are.
Is that the installed base or the amount of which is sold every year?
It's 1.7 million is sold last year, 2017. And but the install base is probably more close to about 5 millions.
And so, what will happen to the rest? How many provinces are there in China?
There are 37 provinces in China.
Okay, so what about the other 34? Will they start to accept a low-speed electric vehicle?
I think with the central government to standardize the low-speed vehicle, and right now there are 95 cities in China is looking at legitimize this car. So the for the next couple years, this is going into exponential growth in China.
So it can easily become 10 times bigger and have 20 million sold a year.
Oh yeah, right now the market projection for this class of car in China by 2020 is 10 million unit a year.
2020. That's only in 2 years.
Yep. So the low speed EV market has been growing at about 80% a year for the past 2 years.
How much of those 1.7 million are exported to America, Africa, Europe?
Well, I think right now it's less than 1% is going out of the countries.
And they are actually, I mean, if you look at Shanghai, there's no parking space. There's no space for people on the road. Only about 5% has a second person in the car, but they are not accepted there. And that is culturally, or is that politically, or is that economically?
Well, I think for Shanghai, this is the peasant's car. This is not something suitable for Shanghai, but I joke about the possibility of this car making it to Shanghai is through Europe. If it's
First, it has to be accepted here. And I go like, this is extremely practical. You can park everywhere. It's like our Smart. We have the Smart from Daimler, and that car a little bit smaller. It has a market share, but it's very, very small. Would a car like that be accepted here in Europe? What is your experience if you show it to people?
Well, I think this is the great entrepreneurial opportunity for European. We're thinking about the possibility of bringing 3,000, 5,000 euro car with new digital experience. Right now, there are people modify this car to be self-driving. There are actually two cities in China with special zoning, and they are experimenting with this class of car with fully self-autonomous driving. So
It's fantastic inside the city for one person or two people, and then you don't need much parking spaces, and when they become autonomous, they can be shared. So China is all about sharing. I mean, they have this bike sharing experiments, and there's lots of unicorns and lots of companies which have tens of millions of shared bikes. So we can also draw from that experience what will happen to shared cars. Do you think, if you look at the experience you had in shared bikes in China, will shared cars be a success?
shared car is already in China right now. So in Shenzhen, we can actually go and rent a shared car on the street with the mobile phone. And this is going to kick into gears in the next few years with the availability of the low speed, low cost electric car. So yeah, but I think that model is not just limited to China.
No. We already have shared cars. We have about 800 shared cars here in Amsterdam, and you can just go with your bike, with your mobile phone, and pick it up.
Yeah.
But I mean, it can be a lot cheaper. I mean, what kind of prices do you pay? Do you pay per kilometer or per minute or per hour? How does it work there?
I think right now it's paid by. I think it's paid by hour. I haven't tried.
Have any idea about the prices you charge? They charge there.
For Shenzhen, it just got started. So right now it's all at a trial base. So I'm actually driving them for free.
Okay. So we'll see. Here it's about €12 per hour to have a shared car, and I'm sure it's a lot less in Shenzhen, and especially if you have those low speed cars. Okay. The presentation you did today at eDay, what was that about?
It's really rethinking about a lot of the technology as commodities. So if you think about if you want to launch in your own mobile phone, you don't have to start in the entire engineering to do it. Uh, you can take China's resource and make your own phone, and right now make your own car. Uh, the this today in E-Days, that's the introduction of the concept to rethinking about uh, China as a resource to launching a new brand.
Yeah, what huge amount of companies are already doing, because China is manufacturing everything and is doing more and more of the engineering. So what's new about that?
Well, right now it's the new thing is getting it into the head of the new entrepreneur, people, three-person company who are actually in the position to launch a mobile phone. Three-person company can be in the position to launching a new EV company.
And it's overwhelming to come to Shenzhen. I mean, I've been there a bunch of times, and to find out the right people who you can trust, and your platform, your company, your platform. I can use that. If I'm an entrepreneur, I can go to you and get relationships and get trust and get introduced.
Yeah, that's what we do. So we are supported by Shenzhen government to be that bridge between the global entrepreneurs and Shenzhen.
So I have somebody who wants to actually make a certain device, and he's now going around to all these individual companies and trying to figure out who can be trusted or not. He can. How does he work with you?
Well, send us an email and let us know what he wants to build. We actually work in a very simple model. We don't ask for technical detail. We typically ask the entrepreneur to provide us a one-pager, the page of the brochure of the product they want to put on the market as they are going out to the sales call. And we can, based on that one-pagers, to find the best match in Shenzhen.
And then you connect me to them. And do you do anything else than that?
We connect you to the trusted partner, and if there's any modification needed, if there's any, and we can bring in additional resource, the engineering, the design, and then
You want to be a trusted source between those groups.
we want to be the trusted bridge into those groups.
So you have some experience with American entrepreneurs, European entrepreneurs, and African entrepreneurs. How would you characterize the difference?
Yeah, so for where we are from, Shenzhen it's all about cash flow and shipping, and producing and shipping. So we purposely looking for entrepreneur who can leverage this kind of capacity. When we started, we have interfaced with a lot with the entrepreneur in America, but I think huge amount of them is basically driven by valuations.
Not shipping a product and not earning money and not making a profit, but just a lot of VC driven business.
It's very VC driven business. So we move our focus to Europe in 2016. There are a lot of the good intention want to ship stuff, but again, it's a little bit too slow to catching up with our speed.
So the Americans are driven on valuation, don't do anything because they are making smoking mirrors. The Europeans are too slow to ship anything. So where are you now focusing on?
So for the past year and a half, we have been focusing with African entrepreneur. They send us email, and they are more eager to ship than most of our Shenzhen partners.
If you want a trusted bridge into Shenzhen, this is a very good place. I'll make sure that the website. What is the website?
It's szoil.org.
And also this EV. Why should it look the same? Why not have something which is much more efficient, much easier to park, very useful for the city? We can rethink it, and China can be a nice, inspirational example. I mean, for the rest of China, these two provinces, they are a good example, and it's interesting, and also for Europe. And if we can legitimize that concept, that will be a lot of fun. So next year, what is your goal next year? That there will be people, that there will be low-speed EVs driving around here in Amsterdam?
Hopefully, I love to see that. I love to see finding partner entrepreneur here who are interested in take a crack into the EV market. there's a lot of space for imaginations, and also the other thing to look at is the beautiful classic small car came out in Europe back in the 60s and 50s.
Oh yeah.
There are so many beautiful space age design for small vehicle on the street.
It's true. It's really weird why we didn't get them. Why it hasn't become big.
Well, it's the time to go back to thinking about that route.
Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Taiwan.
And then what did you do?
So I study in the U.S. and
What?
I studied computer science in the U.S. and I started my first internet company in '95.
In the US. Okay, and now he ended up in China as doing innovation between international entrepreneurs and the Chinese production capacity available there. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Did you like this video? There's more where this came from. Subscribe and click the bell to get notified about our new videos.